wanted a monster, and I delivered. Not the creature they whispered about in their private corners, but the kind born from disappointment, forged from betrayal, sculpted by every silent wound they believed would break you. They thought you would crumble under the pressure, drown in the noise, and surrender your worth in the shadows. But you stood inside the storm, and you let the lightning carve a new version of you from the ruin. It always begins quietly, not with violence, not with chaos, but with small cuts delivered by familiar hands. A tone, a laugh, a missing invitation, a betrayal dressed as kindness. They never strike all at once. They drip the poison slowly, believing you will swallow it without noticing, believing you will keep giving, keep bending, keep accepting the weight they should have carried themselves. You tried to understand them. You tried to fix what you did not break. You apologized for storms you did not create. You carried guilt that never belonged to you, and they saw that softness as weakness. They saw your silence as surrender. They saw your patience as permission. That is how the wound opened. The wound they caused was not loud. It was surgical. It was precise. It made you question yourself in ways the world never could. It made you replay moments at night, searching for what you missed. It made you wonder why your loyalty did not return as loyalty. It made you feel like you were not enough, even when you were the only one holding everything together. Their disrespect was not sudden. It was accumulated. It was engineered. It was intentional. And you felt it deeply. The confusion, the heartbreak, the shame that was never yours, the overthinking that burned like fever, the guilt that wrapped around your ribs, the silent nights where your mind replayed scenes that were not worthy of your time, the heavy mornings where your chest carried the weight of invisible disappointments. You believed something was wrong with you. You believed your heart was the flaw. You believed your loyalty was foolishness. And you blamed yourself for believing in people who never believed in you. But the truth was waiting behind all of it. Pain is a messenger. Betrayal is a filter. Abandonment is a revelation. Disrespect is a spotlight. What hurt you did not come to destroy you. It came to expose them. Their behavior was not a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of their fear, their insecurity, their inability to stand next to someone who has depth, discipline, and soul. They were not protecting their peace. They were defending their weakness. They betrayed you because they could not match you. They disrespected you because they could not understand you. They abandoned you because they could not go where you were destined to rise. They did not destroy you. They awakened you, and the awakening hurt because you were still holding on to the illusion of who you believed they were. But illusions burn fast. Reality burns slower, deeper, cleaner. When the truth arrived, it tore open the fog. It revealed the real story. You were never losing them. You were losing the version of yourself that tolerated them. You were not suffering punishment. You were experiencing preparation. Every moment of pain was shaping you. Every disappointment was clearing the path. Every silent night was sharpening your mind. Every unanswered message was training your detachment. Every disrespectful act was strengthening your boundaries. The fire did not come to end you. It came to forge you. This is where the transformation began. The pressure tightened. The flames intensified. The storm closed in. But instead of running, you stayed. You stood still while everything around you broke. You faced the weight they avoided. You carried the lessons they rejected. You endured the silence they feared, and the fire began to carve you into something sharper. The pressure sculpted you into something stronger. The storm shaped you into something wiser. Gold is not created in comfort. Diamonds are not formed in safety. Strength is never built in sunlight. You are being remade in the dark. And every scar became a blueprint. Every tear became a teacher. Every setback became a stepping stone toward the person you were meant to become. And the new rules started to form. You stopped explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You stopped chasing those who would never have chased you. You stopped overgiving to people who only knew how to take. You stopped apologizing for wanting peace. You stopped carrying burdens that were never yours. You stopped lowering your standards just to make others comfortable. You stopped shrinking to fit into places you had already outgrown. You learned the power of silence, not the silence of fear, but the silence of clarity, the silence that comes when your spirit decides to protect its own peace, the silence that rebuilds you, the silence that resets your destiny. You understood that your energy is sacred, and not everyone deserves access to it. You realized that isolation is not loneliness, it is alignment. You discovered that solitude is where God speaks the loudest, where the mind clears, where the heart heals. You embrace the quiet and let it shape you. This is where the identity rebirth ignited. You became someone else, someone they never expected. Someone who does not break easily. Someone who does not chase validation. Someone who is no longer at war with himself. Someone who rises without noise, who moves with purpose, who breathes with intention. Someone who is chosen, unshaken, unbroken. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are the proof that pain does not win when discipline walks in. And from this rebirth comes the rise, the prophetic rise, the kind of rise that does not ask for permission, the kind that shakes the ground, the kind that forces the world to whisper your name with both fear and respect. You are building a future that will not bend to those who tried to bury you. You are becoming the consequence of every mistake they made. You are rising from the ashes they created, carrying the strength they never expected, delivering the destiny they never believed you had. You are the storm they started. You are the monster they created. You are the legend they will never outrun. They wanted a monster, but they never expected the transformation that followed the fall. They thought the pain would make you crawl, not rise. They believed the weight would crush you, not carve you. They imagined your silence meant defeat, not discipline. They thought you were breaking, but you were building. And while they continued playing with shadows, you were mastering the darkness itself. Transformation does not begin when life is calm. It begins when everything collapses, when the people you trusted turn away, when the support you needed disappears, when your heart becomes a battlefield. That is where the second version of you begins. Not the polished version, not the confident version, the raw version, the cracked version, the bleeding version. The version that stares into the mirror and sees a stranger staring back. That version of you is difficult to meet, but necessary to become, because the wound they created did not disappear with time. It expanded. It spread. It changed the color of your thoughts. It made you see the world without filters. It made you understand that loyalty is not a guarantee. Effort does not always return as effort. Good intentions do not always receive gratitude. You learn that people love you as long as you make their lives easier, and they leave you the moment you need something in return. You learn that betrayal is not always loud. Sometimes it is silence. Sometimes it is avoidance. Sometimes it is pretending not to know your pain. Sometimes it is choosing convenience over connection. And you carried that knowledge like a ghost on your back. But inside that darkness, something else appeared. Something you were not expecting. A truth sharp enough to split your entire story in half. You realized the pain was never the enemy. It was the invitation, the doorway, the awakening, the force that separated who you were from who you were becoming. It revealed the truth behind the masks people wore. It exposed the intentions hiding beneath their smiles. It showed you who would have stayed and who never planned to. And that revelation did not destroy you. It rebuilt you. They did not destroy you. They awakened you. And the awakening changed your vision. It sharpened your instincts. You began recognizing manipulative patterns you once ignored. You saw through false promises, through shallow apologies, through temporary affection. You identified the ones who returned only when they needed something. The ones who vanished when you were no longer useful. The ones who wanted the benefits of you, but never the burden of you. You stopped letting them access your soul for free. Because this time, you understood the cost of giving to those who only know how to take. You understood that a generous heart needs boundaries, or it becomes a target. You understood that peace is more valuable than presence, and distance is more powerful than confrontation. And the silence that once felt like loneliness now felt like liberation. This was the fire that reshaped everything. Pain became pressure. Pressure became discipline. Discipline became identity. You walked through emotional fire without losing your humanity. You walked through storms without losing your direction. You rebuilt your inner world brick by brick, lesson by lesson, scar by scar. And each scar became a symbol, not of what hurt you, but of what strengthened you. This pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Preparation for higher circles. Preparation for stronger relationships. Preparation for battles you did not know you would fight. Preparation for a future version of you that refuses to shrink. Preparation for a destiny that requires a tougher mind and a sharper spirit. And that preparation demanded new rules. You no longer explain your worth. You no longer chase people who walk away. You no longer beg for clarity from those who benefit from confusing. You no longer negotiate with disrespect. You no longer break yourself to keep others comfortable. You no longer sacrifice your peace for temporary company. And you no longer allow your heart to be accessed by those who never earned the key. You became intentional with your energy, selective with your presence, strategic with your emotions. You stopped giving surface-level people deep-level access. You stopped tolerating chaos disguised as love. You stopped entertaining those who speak highly of you in public but treat you poorly in private. You understood that your life is too valuable to be shared with those who cannot handle its weight. And in this discipline, the rebirth continued. The person you are becoming is not the one who tolerated everything, not the one who forgave too quickly, not the one who ignored red flags out of hope, not the one who broke himself to keep others whole. You became someone harder to manipulate, someone impossible to fool, someone who sees through intentions before words form, someone who does not fight for closure because you learned that silence reveals more truth than any conversation ever could. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are not the version of yourself they tried to define. You are the version life demanded you become. Stronger, sharper, quieter, more disciplined, more dangerous in your focus, more unstoppable in your purpose. You began to move differently, not loudly, not desperately, but with a calm that terrifies those who once underestimated you. The calm of someone who knows his worth. The calm of someone who no longer seeks validation. The calm of someone who understands that destiny does not depend on the approval of the crowd. And that calm became your weapon. Because nothing is more powerful than a person who has mastered his emotions. Nothing is more unshakable than a person who has walked through fire and did not turn to ash. Nothing is more intimidating than a person who rises without noise, improves without announcement, and removes people without apology. This is where the prophecy begins to unfold. Your rise is not a miracle, it is a consequence, a natural result of the work you put in. Every night you stayed awake, improving yourself. Every day you chose discipline over distraction. Every moment you focused on purpose instead of pain. Destiny was not handed to you, It was built by you, piece by piece, step by step, scar by scar. They wanted a monster, but what they created was a force that does not bend, a force that does not break, a force that does not fear isolation, a force that walks alone, but never walks lost, a force that elevates with precision, purpose and quiet intensity, a force that carries both fire and control. You are becoming the storm they never prepared for. You are the result of every choice they made. You are the aftermath of their mistakes. You are the consequence of their disrespect. And soon, they will witness the rise they never believed you were capable of. This is only the beginning. They wanted a monster, and now they must face what their choices created. Not a creature of chaos, not a threat, not a force of destruction, but a version of you that no longer bends, breaks, or begs. A version shaped by truth, strengthened by solitude, sharpened by storms. A version that rose from the ruins without anger, but with absolute clarity. They will not understand this version of you, because it was built in a place they never had the courage to enter. Your final transformation did not happen when the pain hit. It happened when the pain stopped controlling you. When the memories no longer felt like chains. When the stories you replayed finally lost their power. When the ghosts of the past stopped whispering doubts in your mind. When you stood in your own darkness and realized you were never alone. The fire that refined you was inside you all along, waiting for permission to burn. Your life did not change when people betrayed you. It changed when you accepted that their betrayal was the blessing. The separation was the miracle. The disappointment was the redirection. You stopped asking why they left, and you started understanding why they were never meant to stay. You stopped questioning their intentions, and you started seeing your own destiny. You stopped bleeding for people who never offered healing in return. And that shift was the beginning of your rise. Because once you let go of what was weighing you down, you discovered the version of yourself that was always waiting beneath the surface. The version that does not fear endings because endings are doorways. The version that does not fear loss because loss is liberation. The version that does not fear silence because silence is strategy. You learned that your spirit grows the most when your circle grows smaller. When your distractions fade, when your priorities sharpen. They did not destroy you, they released you. And release is the foundation of rebirth. Rebirth is never gentle. Rebirth requires the death of old identities, old beliefs, old attachments, old patterns. You shed the parts of yourself that were built around pleasing others. You let go of the habits that kept you small. You broke the cycles that kept you repeating the same stories. You freed yourself from the narratives they tried to write for you. And in that release you discovered something they never expected. You finally met the real you. Not the version shaped by expectation. Not the version shaped by guilt. Not the version shaped by fear. The version shaped by purpose. The version shaped by truth. The version shaped by discipline. The version that looks at pain as fuel, not poison. The version that treats challenges as training, not punishment. The version that uses solitude as a classroom, not a prison. This pain is not punishment. It is preparation. Preparation for your next level. Preparation for greater responsibility. Preparation for a purpose that demands strength. Preparation for a life that requires unshakable focus. Preparation for opportunities that cannot be handled with a fragile mind. You were being sculpted for something bigger than what you lost. You were being shaped for a destiny that they were never meant to witness. And that is why the rise is happening now. The rise is not loud. It does not need applause. It does not announce itself. It moves in silence. It advances in patience. It builds in shadows. It grows through discipline. While others chase attention, you chase elevation. While others seek validation, you seek mastery. While others repeat the same mistakes, you break patterns with intention and clarity. Your rise is not about revenge. Your rise is about responsibility. Responsibility to your potential. Responsibility to your purpose. Responsibility to the version of you that refused to give up when everything around you collapsed. You owe it to yourself to rise. You owe it to your future to continue. You owe it to your spirit to evolve. You owe it to your pain to transform it into power. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are the proof that pressure produces strength, but comfort never could. And now the identity rebirth is complete. You stand as someone who does not fear solitude, because solitude trained you. You stand as someone who does not fear disappointment, because disappointment redirected you. You stand as someone who does not fear endings, because endings evolved you. You stand as someone who no longer reacts emotionally, but strategically. You stand as someone who no longer chases answers, because you trust your intuition. You stand as someone who no longer loses sleep over people who never deserved your loyalty. You stand as someone who no longer loses sleep over people who never deserved your loyalty. A life built on wisdom, boundaries, and purpose. Your rise will not be by accident. It will be by design, by intention, by the relentless consistency you commit to when no one is watching. They wanted a monster, but what they created was a leader, a warrior of discipline, a guardian of peace, a strategist forged in fire, a soul no longer dependent on approval, a mind trained through storms, a heart that beats with clarity instead of chaos, a spirit that stands tall even when the world tries to bend it. And soon, without saying a word, your evolution will speak for you. Your glow will expose what their intentions tried to hide. Your strength will reveal what their actions truly meant. Your success will show the purpose behind your suffering. Not as revenge, not as punishment, but as truth, as reflection, as consequence. You will not need to return to explain yourself. You will not need to confront anyone. You will not need to prove anything. Your growth will do the talking. You are rising into a chapter where your discipline is your armor. Your silence is your strategy. Your purpose is your compass. Your transformation is your shield. You will attract what matches your new identity and lose what no longer aligns with your rise. Not because you changed too much, but because you finally stopped pretending to be smaller than you are. This is your era of becoming. Your era of clarity. Your era of power. Your era of mastery. The world will witness a version of you that was born in fire, built in darkness, and strengthened through silence. You are stepping into destiny with a steady mind, a steady heart, and a steady spirit. They wanted a monster, and you delivered, not through destruction, but through evolution, not through rage, but through resurrection, not through chaos, but through becoming the version of yourself that no wound, no betrayal, and no abandonment could ever break. You are the storm now. You are the consequence. You are the transformation they never saw coming. Rise silently.